Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everyone. I'm going to say this, and you might not even be aware of it, but doesn't matter if you're male or female, what you identify with. We all have masculine and feminine energy in us. All of us. What does that mean? How do we use that to our best advantage? We're going to talk about that today and a lot more. He is a healer. He is an acupuncturist, a hypnotherapist, an intuitive. He's a coach. I call him a visionary because he makes us think whenever we get together about some of this stuff. Yeah, sometimes it runs a little bit deep, but it's also the answer that you might be looking for. Chris Distefano joins us back again on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How about you, Steve?
Was that your feminine side or your masculine side speaking?
That would be my masculine.
Okay. It's true, though. We do have both of those energies in all of us, right?
Yes. And they present, it's one of my favorite books out there, and most people don't know it. It's Eastern philosophy, the Tao Te Ching, Taoism, has a chapter that begins, and the chapters are short. Know the male, yet keep to the female. Receive the world in your arms, and if you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you. And that's really important. As an acupuncturist, Chinese medicine is based on that balance. When we lose our way, and that's the beauty of it. What you said, nailed it. Men and women possess both. But much like a coin has a head and a tail, we have these energies, and a male will predominantly default to the masculine, a female will predominantly default to the feminine. But that's part of our journey in life, is learning to know and embrace both sides of that, those energetics of masculine and feminine.
How does one know when each respective energy is coming up or being used in a situation? Is there a way to know?
Well, in the most basic biological terms, the masculine is going to be, testosterone would be the ultimate in like a masculine type of hormone. And that does have a more action and direction oriented energy. And for the feminine, there's more of a nurturing and supportive energy, and a really powerful, they say that the masculine is like the tip of the spear, and the feminine is what gives it all of its support. A man without they could say a man without a woman, and I know that's not appropriate to say anymore, but these are older texts. A man without a woman is like just that tip of the spear. There's no power to it. That support is critical. In women, of course, the feminine has that unique and beautiful power to create life. It's even in nature. I used to love to look out the window at birds. I still do. And I'm going to throw something at you. Why are male birds beautifully colored?
Like a mallard.
Like a mallard, or like a cardinal. Female cardinals are brown. They have a little bit of red peeking out on their crown and on their beak.
I don't have that answer.
The answer that I was taught by the experts when I was young is that's how they attract a mate.
And I've heard that too. Okay.
Yeah. The answer that I found by observation was, if you look at the hierarchy of life, the priorities, the reason it attracts the mate is because he can better protect the family. You see, because you have the survival of the species, followed by the family unit, followed by the individual. The most expendable individual in the kingdom is the male. That's why we also have the protective energy. We can sacrifice ourselves in a healthy masculinity. So the male bird is brightly colored because if a predator comes, he flies. And all the predator is going to see is him. The nest is safe.
And I find that reasonable to accept. But I also wonder, why wouldn't the female be brightly colored to attract the male? Why is he attracting her?
The female can be more selective. Also, the nature of the masculine energy is protective. A healthy masculine energy is a protective energy. A distorted masculine energy that's been distorted by fear, misidentification, etc., is going to cause harm. But a healthy masculine energy is going to protect. So his role, the male could be replaced. The female has to blend in because she's being protected with the babies. She is the continuation of the species. If you have 100 male birds and one female bird, you're not getting a whole lot of babies. The species dies. The males are expendable.
You know, as my friend says, women, female, are born with it. Males have to work for it.
Yeah.
But I get the protection thing.
I'm not trying to be harsh. This is just, the basic rules of the game.
And what is the number one thing a woman can say, or someone with more feminine energy, to be PC, however you want to frame this, but what is the number one thing that she can say or that he would want to hear? I feel safe. I feel safe.
Yeah, and that's exactly. In a healthy relationship, that's exactly what someone would want to hear. Now, in a distorted relationship, in an unhealthy relationship, it's maintained through fear of either leaving because of being away. So that would be toxic codependency. And most people have not really worked on themselves. And so what they attract and what they give is distorted versions of masculine and feminine. But in a healthy relationship, yeah, you are describing the ideal.
So is that where relationships go wrong, if you will, where essentially there's a disproportionate amount of masculine and feminine energy working there, where, as you say, if it's all in balance and it's in healthy amounts, maybe on both sides of the relationship, then you get the perfect blend.
Well, it's hard to really describe what a distorted or perverted masculine or feminine energy is without having a one-on-one relationship with the audience. But an unhealthy masculine energy, you could think of it this way. If a man is secure, and I'm using a man, but again, everyone possesses.
Yep.
If a man is secure because of the nature of man, you got to look, what are men? 50% bigger and stronger than women by design. Because our job, it's a greater expenditure of energy to maintain that. But the job is to protect and provide. Biology, can't argue with it.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that difference in size and strength, that's why it's a protective nature. But if a man is completely insecure, he's going to lash out at those smaller than him in order to make himself feel better. Like a super awesome person lifts everyone else up, and that elevates them. An insecure, small, petty person pushes everyone down and thinks that makes them higher.
Totally. Yeah.
So toxic masculinity, as everyone says, it would be what we call a bully. A person who pushes kids down, a bad person. And that's very present in a lot of relationships. And there's also, women are smarter socially. So what women have the capacity to do is to manipulate men more easily. And a woman who's not exactly in a healthy place may manipulate her man to get what she wants, or the man she's with, or whatever, and use the feminine energy not in that supportive way. And a lot of times, yes, men can be as dumb as the day is long, and sometimes we need women to help put us on the straight and narrow because we have a tendency Sometimes
let's not admit that.
It never happened.
Yeah.
Erase, delete.
But you know what's interesting? Look at any species. If some have challenges with us referring to humans because of what we identify with, etc. If you look at other species, this all rings true. Same thing with the bird.
Yes.
And my dog, I took him to a dog park for the first time ever. Found one local. I'm like, let me take him there. And then a lot of bigger dogs roaming around, and they're just all packing, they're running and everything. My dog, he's like the coolest dog. He's got a masculine side to him. That he's very, docile, loving, and everything. We walk in there. What does he do? He jumps up on a bench and stands tall and proud and just starts barking like. It's almost as if he was telling everybody else, "Hey, I'm a thing over here," or he was just trying to boost himself up because all the other dogs were a little bit bigger. And then he jumped off and then he started running with all the other ones. But to me, that sounds like, the display of, or the peacock with the feathers coming out to make it look like you're bigger.
Mm-hmm. That's it. And this is hardwired. This is like subconscious level stuff. I've studied plenty of that.
Sure. And
this is hardwired. Why the age old question? I could answer a lot of these questions that never get answered. Why do women end up with jerks? It's really simple, because even though it may be false, they come across with a sense of bravado, character shining through. They come across as masculine, even if it's more of a facade. So they give off that, and so women like the way they feel around that level of masculinity, even if it's kind of an act, and they find out later and they're like, oh, this guy, but as opposed to the nice guy who's coming across much softer. And my feelings on nice is funny. It's a socially constructed behavior. Kind is authentic.
Yes. Yeah. And nice, kind is just being kind. Nice can be manipulated. And I hear the same thing on the male side. A lot of friends, one in particular, and he went through a little challenging divorce, and there was, some things that went on there. And that was 8 years ago. And, he's always looking to date a little bit here and there. Super, super guy. What does he say? All women, they're all crazy. They're all crazy. But that's
him.
That's him based on his perception and his mindset, for sure.
Because we do, this is probably the most important thing. First of all, one last thing on nice and kind. Nice is what someone told you to be. Kind is what your heart is.
Agreed.
So it's day and night once you feel the difference. This is, I talk with a lot of patients, work with a lot of people. Here's the deal, and I have my own life. Until we do the work on ourselves to be whole, and we'll never quite be whole, or else we're not here. But when we start enjoying that journey and embracing it and loving ourselves, if you don't love yourself, you are going to be in a crap relationship. I don't care how great it is to start.
Agreed.
Because your unresolved issues will have to come to the forefront. And it's not the other person's fault. It's you're magnetically drawing that in. You're doing a dance. So until we really come to that place of wholeness, we're going to end up drawing in the same types of problems with different people.
And it's such a cliche. You need to love yourself before you can properly love others. But until you realize it, you don't know it until you know it. But once you know it, it's like, then it comes clear. Oh, that really is. Because now you're not dependent on others to maybe get what's missing within you that you weren't even aware of. But yeah, it's a game changer. And would you also say, once you love yourself, that the masculine feminine energy is now in check, or much better in check?
I'm going to go even further. I believe this is a lot like a video game. Life. First of all, we are not put here to get stuck in the stupid grind board. I'm one of the few people who's not a big fan of hustle culture. I think it's actually toxic because it's great for some people. It doesn't resonate with me. But learning to cultivate that stillness on the masculine side, that's cultivating the feminine. And for women, learning to cultivate that action-oriented, that man side, that creative. That's so important to loving ourselves wholly. I'm going to go a little farther into that, which is as a man. I was at an advanced hypnosis retreat this weekend learning techniques, and I was working on this guy. We did a little bit of clearing. This was actually his third intensive, and he's this big old Texan, 400-pound guy, awesome dude. He is crying because he's processing issues. This man has not cried ever because we're told we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women are afraid to stand up for themselves because they're told they shouldn't. They are told, pardon my French, cover your ears, they're told they're being a bitch. They're literally programmed that if they have integrity and boundaries with themselves, they are a bad person. Men are called all sorts of names if they allow themselves the natural process of feeling. And so it becomes pathological to maintain a false femininity or a false masculinity. And that's a form of self-hate because we're pushing away half of our humanity because we're told, no, you're only supposed to be this avatar. And now you're not a complete human being. And that's actually, it's funny because that's sort of why I love this topic, because it takes the self-love to be able to hold the parts that we were told make us weak, make us bad, make us this, because they don't. They make us whole. They make us stronger, and they make us a better human being.
Let's say that you're at the point where you accept yourself, call it, you love yourself. How do you know if and when you're being too masculine or too feminine? Or it's probably not the case once you've figured yourself out.
Yeah, figuring yourself out, that's a really beautiful way to put it, because I don't know if that happens. At least that's not happened yet for me. But what I'm working with more and more is discernment. Knowing what's authentic and true to me. Being able to feel in my body, I'm kinesthetic, so I feel in my body, yeah, that feels like I'm not in me. I'm going through a script.
Yeah.
So I go by feeling. Some people get signs. Some people are just the discernment develops over time. This is how we minimize suffering, is by coming into our presence and being able to listen to the subtle. Oh, here's how you know. It's a very simple litmus test. Am I doing this from fear?
Sit with that one for a little while. Because it's so simple, but so impactful.
Yeah.
Would you say that everything we do, or every action that we have, you could put it through that filter?
Steve, that's my definition of heaven and hell.
Putting it through that filter and determining?
If I'm making it from fear, I'm pulling it from the place of scarcity, detachment, limit, and everything else. So therefore, if you want to go into the full definitions of, devil, yeah, I'm putting myself in hell. I'm making decisions by making myself small. I'm making decisions, pulling myself away from my authenticity and going more and more into lack of faith, lack of trust, and doing it for the wrong reasons. Like I'm picking a job because, that's the more secure, this and that, pulling myself away from my heart and getting stuck in my mind, getting stuck in the logical. Here, this is so important. Anyone will tell you this. This is like I'm giving you guys a cheat code right now. This is the big one. Do not believe the logical mind. It has an incomplete data set. And so what it does, it gives really convincing arguments. It's like in a dream, we believe the most nonsensical things. Then we wake up, we're like, what was I thinking? We do that in waking life too. The logical mind is the fear. The logical mind, and I know this, is the depression. It's the anxiety. It's not us. It's conditioned. And we're taught by society, by our world, by all well-meaning people to be limited and small.
Is the logical mind
our nature?
The data set that you refer to, is the logical mind pulling that data from the subconscious, that information? Where is it? Where's the data set coming from?
So I'm just going to give you, I very rarely throw these type of credentials around. I am exceptional at logical and pattern recognition based on every test I've ever taken. And that's what trapped me in depression. It's pulling it on the evidence that's in front of us, which, much like the mistakes made by science, and that's a whole other day, is completely discarding that which is unseen, that which cannot be measured. In other words, if a synchronicity happens, the logical mind says, oh, wow, well, that's just pure chance. So we're dismissing the most powerful forces to make this decision. We're pretending that we're in a Newtonian universe. We're not. And for anyone that has any religion or faith, you're pretending there's no God.
Lots of process there. That's deep.
Well, seriously, the entire thing is pretending there's no higher intelligence. Because this is the billiard balls in front of me. This is how they're going to knock together. But there's nothing bigger. That's what the logical mind does. That's why in AA, in the 12 steps, find your faith. Because without that, unless, and there are exceptions, you could be fully immersed in the present moment, and that's the same thing. So you don't have to believe in any higher power. That actually can substitute. But without that, you will teach yourself lessons to build faith. And those usually are not the most fun things to happen.
Lots of process here, but so impactful and interesting in terms of how we operate, the masculine, the feminine. And we started there and we went into another direction talking about the logical mind.
But that's also masculine and feminine. The logical is the masculine side of the brain. And that's what comes up with certain things, the plans and stuff like that. The other side of the brain, or the heart, would be the feminine. And they're both important to have. The heart is amazing to be connected to. That's where the truth really resides. That's where the peace is, the wisdom, everything else. But the implementation of it requires dancing with the devil of the logical mind.
For me, I see this as it comes back to something we said a few moments ago, where you need to truly love yourself, be fully, as best you can, connected to yourself. And that's where the other pieces fall better into place, whether it's the masculine, the feminine, the amount of each in every situation. Would you say that that's the foundation right there?
There's a word for that, Steve, and I'm going to misapply it. The word is flow. Because you can't calibrate, you can't plan beforehand. I'm going to be 80% masculine, 20%. It doesn't happen. What happens is we let go, and naturally we balance in real time as it happens. And we're in that state of perfect alignment where we are giving, receiving, and helping everything to move. It's amazing. One of the most powerful mantras, and it's not just me that's had this, and it occurred spontaneously, is thy will be done. And I know it does sound religious, but it happens spontaneously to more than just me. And it's actually amazing because everything that I do, everything we do ultimately is in service of a higher power. That comes at another level, but that's a balance of the masculine and feminine because it's surrender and action at the same time.
So I don't roll
both sides.
Deeply religious. And like we say, don't politics, religion, put it over to the side. At a time, got to ask the question. When I hear thy will be done.
Yes.
Heard it for decades. to me, it's kind of negative sounding.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like an ending. Is it?
Oh no.
Okay, that's where I'm going.
What it is, it's a trust in a higher power, and we're acting on behalf of, and we are in alignment with forces unseen. We're not putting up. See, it all comes down to the resistance. When we put up the resistance, we step out of flow. And that's when we have misalignment. That's when we have imbalance of masculine and feminine. That's when we're doing the toxic behaviors. When we're in alignment, we're in the flow.
Lots we processed today, for sure. Lots to think about there. Hey, I'm going to be honest and say I'm happy for my feminine side because it gave me success. Where do I go with that? Working in radio, I connected with women very well. And that is the prize demographic, 25 to 54-year-old women. That's the number one demographic because they make most of the purchasing decisions in a home, et cetera, et cetera. I used to have great ratings with women. So I'm going to attribute that to my feminine side where I can, plug in and understand and empathize and all of that. Amazing talk today. How do we connect with you? If somebody's got questions, you offer so many different modalities. You can do it virtually. Obviously, acupuncture is in Scarsdale where you are, New York. Share with your contact info.
The easy stuff, hit me at scarsdalehealth.com. That's my website for the acupuncture practice, but the coaching can also be done, through that portal. And on the other side, pretty easy to find me on social media under Accelerated Healing. Because this is, last thing super important is, it's all in the body too, balancing the body, masculine and feminine, and then everything relaxes and consciousness is still.
And there you have the flow.
That's it.
Thank you for today. And by the way, any comments, you want to send them our way to instantfeedback@steve@gmail.com. I would love feedback on this conversation today. And you can make it anonymous if you'd like. Truly would love to hear everybody's thoughts. Chris, thanks for lots of process today, but in a good way.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.